welcome to Boxing Moment on RSG platform with our analyst, Darnell Kirkland Jr., who's here. If you want to catch our past Boxing Moment and all other podcasts on RSG, just go to realsportsguys.com and you can connect with us and get on our social media platforms from there. And so we got a lot of great videos and stuff there and a lot of interesting things going on. So check that out. But we're going to be talking about who folks are talking about. Is this the next Floyd? This is the next Floyd Mayweather. Shakur Stevenson. Boxing is back. Top ranking ESPN are back on the board. We have Shakur Stevenson up here as the headline. So, Darnell, help maybe some of the folks who aren't really familiar with what's happening in the boxing landscape. Give a little background on Shakur and why he's such a special fighter.
Well, to be honest, Shakur Stevenson, first of all, this is my guy, man. I've been following Shakur Stevenson since he was in the amateurs before he even fought in the Olympics. I've been telling y'all about Shakur Stevenson. He's the next up. But Top Rank kind of does their thing. They always go a little over the top when they sell their fighters. I remember when Lomachenko was like 6 or 7-0. And they had Teddy Atlas over there. I'll never forget this because this is the night Terrence Crawford became the undisputed champion of the world at 140. The same fight, right after the fight, Teddy Atlas comes out and he said, "There's a guy that's 7-0 that is better than both of y'all." It was him. It was Terrence Crawford and Andre Ward standing each other. And Teddy Atlas says, "There's one guy that's 7-0 that's better than both of y'all." Well, he's really 7-1. I think he said 7 fights, and that's actually what he said. But it was Lomachenko. He was talking about Lomachenko. So they always do that kind of stuff. They say he's better than Muhammad Ali. Then they might say something like, Terrence Crawford is the most instinctual fighter to ever live. You know what I'm saying? That's a top-ranked ESPN thing. But nonetheless, Shakur Stevenson is one of the most skilled fighters in the game. He's very young, but he's very talented. And he's a guy that with his style, he's very slick, very defensive, but he scores on offense too. He's not necessarily the most powerful puncher, but with his ability to make you miss and make you look bad, a lot of the top guys are not going to want to fight him, and that's what he's running into at 126. It's the common theme in the sport of boxing that we keep running into. But yeah, I guess if you have a sport that's not centralized, you know what I'm saying, all the different promoters and stuff, you get these kind of results.
And I think that's the one thing. I mean, coming off another UFC 250 with Amanda Nunes, the Lioness, and you just see the way that UFC is able to stack the card, even without having fans, and creating some incredible fights, and then creating space for up and comer fighters to get opportunities. It was interesting for me to see what boxing might learn and how they might, be able to create a card. And I think what you're saying is the inability to kind of cross the street, might affect the boxing in, this transition time. But tell us a little bit about who he's fighting. Is there, obviously he's the favorite. This is a young man, Stevenson, who I was looking at something that said that defensively he gets hit with the fewest number of jabs, and jab is like the set punch. I think better than Floyd, better than some of the best defensive fighters you might see. He avoids a lot of punches and creates angles. He's up at 130, fighting at 130. What do we know about his opponent?
His opponent, man. To be honest with you, I've never heard of this guy in my life. I did the digging. I tried to look at his box rank and try to see if he fought anybody that I've ever heard of in my life. And to be honest, he's never fought anybody that I've ever heard of. So it's gonna be a tough one because I don't know who he is. It's like scouting. It's like when you had the AAU tournament. I know we talked about AAU last podcast we did. You plug to the AAU tournament and there's this one team that they ain't Nike, they ain't Adidas, they ain't nothing like that. Where did they come from? That is this guy.
They pro kids.
Those guys can't be dangerous, but at the same time, in my opinion, if you have the skills and the talent to beat Shakur Stevenson, I probably have heard of you at some point in time, and whether it came from the amateurs, the Olympics, or somewhere in the pros. And I don't think this guy has what it takes, even though I haven't seen him before.
Well, that's this is the difference between boxing and UFC. I mean, you know, this is not a fight that Dana White would put together. Then, if he wasn't going to be able to draw that much on it, but it's a different kind of deal. It's like what you said before. Top Rank has just got to put the fight on. They got the deal to put on a certain number of fights, and they're just trying to find ways to honor the deal that they have at hand. So I think Shakir said he only watched like 2 rounds of this guy, so he's probably seen. He's
in the same boat as me.
And he ain't gonna be in the ring tomorrow. So that's why I was like, I hope Darnell knows something about Shakir. He watched 2 rounds. Oh my goodness, this is the ultimate disrespect. So he gets past this. Who do you see him fighting? He's at 130. There's fights for him down at 126.
Well, in my opinion, because he still hasn't vacated his belt at 126. So I don't know if he's staying at 130 or is it just a get back fight because people been, they had a long layoff. So just make the weight cut a little less and fight at 130. I don't know if it's something like that or he's really moving up to 130. But as far as 126 goes, Josh Warrington has been a name that has been in the headlines as a guy they want to fight. They've been in negotiations, and there's been kind of like a game playing thing going on. Like Josh Warrington wants this. Shakur, then they say, oh, Shakur Stevenson priced himself out. I don't know what's going on. I wasn't privy to these conversations, but it seems like there have been at some kind of a stalemate. They say Shakur Stevenson is asking too much money, and then Shakur Stevenson is saying, you guys should pay me like a champion. You're not paying me like for the the draw that I'm bringing. And I think he said he's willing to go over to the UK and fight him. And I think they were going to fight or something like that, but then the fight was going to be delayed. Like it's going to be like someone like May or June, something like that. But in the meantime, since Shakur Stevenson hadn't fought in a long time, he was going to fight somebody in like March, I think. Miguel Mariaga, a guy that Lomachenko was supposed to fight him, but then COVID happened, so they moved that back, and now the whole thing is in limbo, so we don't know who's going to fight. So if the negotiations fall through, the prevailing thought is he's probably going to move up to 130 because he said if he can't get that fight, he's probably going to move up to 130 because he did want to fight Oscar Valdez that is at 130 now, that was at 126. And once Shakur Stevenson became mandatory, he moved up immediately. You remember that on the show we talked about?
Yeah, we talked about that.
He moved up immediately.
And you also, I mean, hear him talking about Leo Santa Cruz, who's big draw, and he's like Leo's tailor-made for him. Like he talking like he just wiped the map with Leo. Which watching Leo's style, I could probably think he might be right. He tailor-made for Leo's tailor-made for him. As Mr. T said, you tailor-made and you're gonna get hurt. I read that. I said you might have a point, young man. He might be tailor, but that would be a big money fight, big draw.
Yeah, I don't know if Leo Santa Cruz can speak that language. But I don't know because Leo Santa Cruz, like, he's famous for his fights with Aaron Mares, which they threw like 1,000 punches a piece or something crazy like that, and it's just a different style. So, and they're not necessarily selective with their punches. So, Shakur Stevenson probably thinks, oh, I can just pick this guy apart because he's leaving himself open. But you don't know if when you get in there if you can keep up with the work rate. Or one thing, a lot of good defensive fighters like your Pernell Whitakers, your Floyd Mayweathers, your Guillermo Rigondeaux, guys like that, Arizona Laura, when they get in with a guy that usually has a lot of volume, they have the ability to slow the volume down. Yeah. And that's something you got to look for in that kind of fight.
Yeah, but from a draw standpoint, as Floyd went up, he had to find those fights that stylistically it might not have been the best, but it was going to draw and build his brand. If he could get to the other side of it, he's going to be stronger and much better. And you beat a Leo Santa Cruz and you can get some of that fanfare, You know, his girlfriend is Latinx. In terms of the branding, she's a fighter. You know, there's a lot for him in terms of, you know, thinking strategically about you know, where he's want to be. You know, he's the kind of young man that can do well commercially. I think he has marketability. His ability to he's charismatic. You know, you're looking for that boxer who could be crossover. Like you have Errol Spence and those guys, but they're not as charismatic as this young man. He's got that crossover appeal, that energy. You know, he's good in front of the mic.
I think you underestimating Errol though.
Errol.
He might not talk as much in front of the cameras and stuff, but when he does, he's kind of funny.
He's slick, but he ain't charismatic to the level of Shakur Stevenson. I'm not saying that he got the star behind him.
Yeah,
got the star behind him. So if you got the star behind you, you're gonna have opportunities for endorsements. Like he's hitched his wagon to the right partnership. So from that standpoint, I think Shakur. Shakur, I watching some of his conversations. I'm like, okay, this is a charismatic young man. I mean, you brought him to my attention. I've watched him, but I wasn't really paying attention until you kind of lifted him up a little bit. I'm like, okay, I can see, this young man has something.
So the advantage Shakur Stevenson has over Earl is he's starting young. Like when Earl really bursted on the scene, this is back like when he fought Kell Brook, and that was in I want to say it was 2017. Was that 2017? 2018. So he was 27, 28. Shakur Stevenson right now he's 22, 23. Yeah. So he's a young guy, and maybe a couple years from now, then he's gonna be really hitting his stardom at 25. So he has that time to build with his audience, you know what I'm saying? So,
and I'm talking about he has that. Earl has the pay-per-view box office money. So in the auction scheme, Earl can make a lot of money because he's gonna do damage. Right? He gonna fight. He gonna do it. So the draw can make big money in big fights, and he's not scared to fight anybody. Where Stevenson, I think, has an advantage is that he got that De La Hoya, I think, charisma, where it means he can go outside the game. He can make that money in the game, and he might be able to make that money outside the game in ways in which he might get access to marketing. Spence can get big fights because people are going to tune in to a Spence fight. You know, he can run that money team mode because he ain't afraid to fight, and he good on the eyes when he fighting. So he's nobody. And you're gonna show up, and real boxers gonna show up in his, like modern day Marvin Hagler in the sense that when he touch you, he hurts you, and they know it's gonna be some stuff happening when he get in the ring. There's gonna be some furniture moving.
That's true. So when you speak of Shakur Stevenson, the name that pops up because of the way you described him is Gervonta Davis. Because when you described him, that guy that can get his draw from his talent in the ring and outside of the ring. Yeah, you gotta look at Tank Davis, man, because a lot of people don't realize how big of a star he is. Yeah, a lot of friends on my Twitter timeline that don't know nothing about boxing, they know who Tank Davis is. That's interesting because we didn't know he had this much of a reach. How we had this conversation before about how that fight would go down, but has your opinion changed a little bit, or do you still think Tank will run through him?
No, I think Tank drew that association, a very much stronger association with Mayweather, with Floyd, and got that momentum much more so with Floyd. I think he's benefited from Floyd, given even our previous conversation we had on our previous podcast. But I think he got that stronger association in the public with Floyd in that way. I think the difference is, I think the difference between the two is just going to be discipline. I think if both are very disciplined, then Tank is a problem. Meaning if Tank decides he don't have all the weight jump, like Tank's weight goes up and down. And to be a Floyd Mayweather, it's never been about making weight for the most part about Floyd all throughout his career. He stayed ready. If you get a stay ready Tank Davis, oh, then I'm taking him every time because of his power and his viciousness and his hand speed and everything else. The key is he always going to be there? Did he have to cut weight? Did he have to do all this? Is he distracted? And I don't feel like Stevenson is that type of distracted. I think he controls his distractions. In De La Hoya.
He's around. The team he's
Huh?
is the big. His team.
Yeah. He got the team.
He had the opportunity to be where Gervonta was. When
Yep.
Floyd was at the Olympics when Shakur was recruiting Shakur Stevenson, and Shakur Stevenson chose Andre Ward instead.
Yep.
Because he figured that he had a better plan for him.
Yeah.
And the way they've been showing him on ESPN constantly, I can't argue against it because they put him on a couple of Terrence Crawford fights. Terrence Crawford has been like a mentor figure for him. He's been training with him. They're training with Andre Ward, and I think that's a good move for him.
And Andre Ward, if nothing else, that's why he's a great fighter, is tactical, strategic, smart, understated, but he about his business, which that's, to me, you're going to win that. So it's, and now these are coaching trees, right? Floyd got a coaching tree. Andre Ward, who doesn't get enough credit for being, one of the greatest of all time. He's not in that conversation like he should be. And but now they're getting their coaching trees. So that might be that might be a standoff right there. Both of them are trying to live that legacy through these two boxers. So that would be an interesting dynamic. But I think if Tank Davis ever just gets fully disciplined, fully invested in the Mayweather strategy and plan, oh, he's gonna be a beast. But you gotta get fully invested in a way that Broner wasn't fully invested. You and I know if Broner had been fully invested in discipline and committed to it, he would have a different reality right now. And it takes a lot. People don't understand. To be Floyd Mayweather takes a level of physical dedication and commitment. That's why he said hard work and dedication. There's a mentality to that you all got to be ready to go through. And not many guys are ready to go to that fire.
But that's the problem right there. Gervonta, his mentor is Adrian Broner.
Yeah.
He followed Adrian Broner. Even during his best fight, I think, was against Jesus Cuellar. It was on the undercard of Broner versus Jesse Vargas, out there in Brooklyn. And he looked amazing. But for that fight, he was training with Kevin Cunningham. And Kevin Cunningham had them right. He was a strict disciplinarian kind of guy. He didn't take any, he didn't take any mess. He didn't allow them to really walk over him and stuff that way. And it came out to be like a great performance for him. So I don't know if that's exactly. I think that is what he needs. Yeah. But he's content. He's content staying at home in Baltimore. So I don't know if it's gonna work out or not. And I see with Shakur Stevenson, I think he picked the right team, and I think the being in the right system can propel you to that greatness. Like I mentioned Tim Duncan earlier when we said we mentioned Andre Ward, but it's that kind of Spurs way. Like, and Shakur Stevenson might end up being the Kawhi Leonard that comes out of this, and we guys got to wait and see.
Yeah, and it's that sometimes to be successful as you need to be, you've got to leave home, right? Sometimes what Tank has got to, you got to leave what you know, Tank. Sometimes you got to leave what you know to get to where you want to go. And sometimes the inability to do that, to not go to Vegas, and if you want to be with the master, be at the feet of him. See how he eat every day. See how he walk every day. See how he set his whole operation up. He's giving you the keys to that. I'm on the plane tomorrow. Do I fly coach? Am I flying whatever? Like, that is what you do. And when you can't break away from home for a little bit, this is a short period in your life, right? Like, this is not your entire life, but for a short period in life to get to where you want to go, what sacrifice will you make? That's like LeBron going to Miami. He had to go to Miami to sharpen who he wanted to be. He could have stayed in Cleveland. But for him, he realized I'd never go to college. I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna go to Pat Riley College down there in Dade County. I'm going to Wade County College. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to understand what the master plan is. And I think that's where Gervonta is falling short. Even though he's such a great fighter, when you don't do those things, they make a difference when you get into those mega fights with a guy like Stevenson or somebody else who is willing to make that sacrifice and to go that little extra mile. That's the difference between winning those fights. All right. So what do you hear about before we close? What do you hear about up front? What's happening afterward? Do you hear any other fights bubbling up, or is boxing don't have that rhythm that we're seeing with the UFC?
It really doesn't. We saw what other fights are coming up. You got Canelo.
Yeah.
I
know he said he'd be willing to fight in September.
Yeah, well, like Billy Joe Saunders, I think is that's coming up. Him and Callum Smith, I think.
Okay.
And Triple G is fighting an absolute no name. He wanted to fight Camille Samata. You ever heard of him before?
He's trying to get a check right now.
Yeah,
he's trying to get his COVID-19 check.
Yeah, he's trying to get his retirement check.
This called a pandemic check. He's just trying to get I need to get some paper.
And we saw Anthony Joshua take a stand. He was in the Black Lives Matter protest out in London, England. Okay. And his fans have turned on him. And we saw that on Twitter. Oh my God, there's so many people talking about you have betrayed Britain. I was like, oh my goodness. And he came out there. He had a knee brace on, and he was on crutches. So I don't know if he's injured or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
True colors coming through. Oh, there you go. There you go, man. Well, AJ, come on over here, hang out in New York, baby. They don't like you in London. Come and hang out in New York. You'll be all right. Well, hey, man, we'll watch this fight tomorrow. We'll see what else is bubbling up. It's good to see you. Stay healthy, brother. Stay active on Twitter. So y'all, if y'all want to catch Darnell, we'll have his Twitter handle on here. So he's active talking about boxing, updating. He's always on there, so y'all can catch him there. This is a boxing moment here on RSG. Come check us out at www.realsportsguys.com if you want to check out our other podcasts. We love y'all. Stay there and stay safe and stay right. Until next time. Peace.